Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so new NBA news to talk about. Dame Lillard returns to Portland. 3 years, $42 million, has 14 a year, and a no trade clause attached to that contract. Portland is doing things, man. I don't really understand Portland's thinking here. This man's 35 years old, coming off an Achilles tendon tear, and you just gave him a no trade clause and are going to pay him $14 million to sit this entire season. Talk about bad GMing, boy. The stuff that Portland is doing right now is some of the worst you'll ever see, gentlemen, ladies. I know there are a lot of people who like Han, the player they picked up in the draft, but they should have taken him in the second round, and they took him with their first round pick before the 20s. I don't remember exactly where he went, 17, something like that. They traded up to get him or something like that. I don't remember, but that was an extremely poor use of value. And then they turn around and pay Dame Lillard this 3-year deal, one of which, like I said, he's going to be out for, and a no trade clause, which is just mindless as it pertains to understanding how to allocate your assets and ultimately how to assure that everything on your roster is worth what it's supposed to be worth. Those trade clauses bring down the value of everything on your books, not just it, but everything else. It's why the Suns the Suns, specifically just the Suns, were willing to stretch Bradley Beal because they wanted that no trade clause off of their books. It creates significant stranglehold on your flexibility possibilities. Portland is doing all the wrong things, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, they're doing all the wrong things, and it's going to be interesting to see what their team looks like in a couple years, based on the decisions that they've been making with this front office. This is one of the these are some of the worst moves I've seen a team make, like since the Phoenix stuff that we saw, man. Picking up Bradley Beal's no trade clause and slapping it next to Devin Booker and trading away all their picks to do it with some of the worst moves. But Portland is doing a different type of thing because they are foregoing a lot to get older, foregoing a lot to not be better, foregoing a lot to bring in a player that is not going to even play this season. So even if you wanted to win now, he ain't going to be ready until the following season. And then when he is ready, he's going to be 36 years old. This is not at all intelligent work by Portland and whoever's running their front office. I thought Portland had a really good chance to build something solid. They just got themselves out of a terrible situation after years and years of being well over the tax apron, to the point where they couldn't even use their mid-level exception for several years. They paid Dame continuously to carry them through that circumstance. They trade him away in an ill-advised trade, and then furthermore traded away Jrue Holiday. Now they go back and overpay for older Jrue Holiday, and then turn around and bring Dame back to them on another ill-advised contract, and then use their first-round pick on something that's worth half the price. It's just, the owner of the Portland Trail Blazers needs to understand that you are being taken for a ride. You're being taken for a ride, and this is a bad situation. I'm telling you, as a franchise, you guys are making all the wrong decisions right now, and you're going to pay for it. I just want to let you know. And if you're a Portland Trail Blazer fan, you may be happy to have Dame back, but it's not about bringing players in. It's about making sure that you're getting the cost-effective price tag for everything that you have, and making sure that everything you have can potentially be moved as necessary. You've assured that the stuff that you have is no one's going to go come get from you. No one's going to be able to trade for Dame unless he agrees to it, which is smart on his part to demand a no trade clause, but he had absolutely no leverage to do that. None. He's hurt. You don't have any leverage to even demand that. This is just this very, very, very bad, irresponsible decision by the Portland Trail Blazers. Bringing back Dame Lillard, you could have got him back at a small price in comparison to what you paid. You just gifted him a bunch of money, just like you've been doing his whole career. And this is robbery. This is absolute robbery. That man is robbing the Portland Trail Blazers as usual, as he's been doing his whole career. And this is, you got to give Dollar his credit, man. He's living up to his name. He somehow finessed a very poor front office into giving him not only a contract that he definitely is not going to be able to live up to, but a no trade clause to ensure that that contract is stuck to them. This is just, he must know the secrets. That's what I'll say. He must know the secrets of everybody in that front office, man. Because there ain't nothing logical going to give him that. No logical, sane GM and ownership group is going to give him that contract. None of them. Not anybody who knows what the hell they're doing is going to give him that contract. You got to have some secrets on me that you threatening. You got to essentially have leverage on me in order to finesse me out of that contract if I'm the Portland Trailblazers. You got to have naked pictures on me, proof that I cheated on my wife. I'm serious, man. When I say I'm dead serious. That's what the leverage would have to be based on the circumstances, if you're paying any attention to that. So, yeah, man, Portland is, I think they showed they had a good defensive team last year. They got some young talent. And they bought out DeAndre Ayton, the 27-year-old center, only to find themselves in a situation where they're bringing back an even worse contract on their books. So the flexibility that you created by giving away Ayton to basically the Lakers for half the price, because we didn't even have to pay nothing to get him. You paid him, stretch the contract, so you obviously value some flexibility. Only turn around and make yourself even less flexible by bringing in a player who's hurt and giving him a no trade clause. I mean, this is one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in my life, yo. And this is following up yet another horrible decision that I said arguably was one of the worst decisions I'd ever seen. Portland has made two of the worst decisions I have ever seen. In the matter of a month, you got one GM doing two things that I think is incredibly irresponsible as it pertains to his asset class. Like deeply irresponsible, man. I ain't kidding. These are two of the worst moves I've ever seen. The Hanson Young draft pick was terrible as hell. And this Dame Lillard contract is blasphemous. This is the worst. This may be the worst GM in basketball today, man. I don't even think it's even worth questioning. Not to mention the cost they paid to get Drew Holiday, who's should have been a contract that you got something for in order to acquire as a salary dump. They paid first round picks to get it. This GM is horrible, man. It's just this horrible GM. I don't know. I think it's a Cronin. Is that who that is? That man needs to be fired. He needs to be fired immediately. And this is why I tell all my Laker fam, a lot of y'all upset that y'all don't like some of the things that our GM is doing. But the problem with that position is not understanding that we've already made a plenty of mistakes that put us in a disadvantage. So you can't just bring yourself all types of players without doing irresponsible stuff and paying irresponsible prices to acquire them. So when you're in a disadvantaged position and you want to get yourself back to square one so that you can have the flexibility to maneuver, your best bet is to not do too much. Even if pressured to, the only way you're going to have the flexibility to adhere to whatever pressure would be in the future is to not stranglehold yourself by mismanaging your assets any further. And this is the position that I understand Rob Pelinka is in, which is why I'm not unhappy with him over the last 2 summers not making too many moves, because any of the moves that he would have made would have further dug us into a hole that made our flexibility even worse than it already is. To be most responsible with the future of your franchise, you got to understand the position you're in and make wise decisions within that position. Never mind who's pressuring you or what they think is necessary or who they see around the NBA making more moves. It don't matter, because they're not in the disadvantaged position that you're in, which is why they can make certain moves. You're in a disadvantaged position, so it's best you don't. Now, if you forego that, you're going to make it even harder for you to build something reasonable tomorrow. And this is what most Laker fans don't understand. They don't understand this. They're looking at it from a surface level position to say everybody around us is making moves. Why aren't we making moves? We're a win now team. Why don't we hurry up and win now? But the truth of the matter is, you're at a disadvantaged position, and it's in your best interest to be careful not to bring yourself things that are going to further mess up your flexibility so that you don't make it absolutely and utterly impossible to move in the future. This is why I'm not so upset at Rob Pelinka. I'm not always happy with what I see there, but I understand that, yo, something has to give. Either you can kick away all your flexibility and an opportunity at a win now situation, overpaying for everything that'll ultimately get you to a point where people feel confident that you've done enough to make it so that they can win, and then they fall short and you look like the idiot for making those moves and are stuck to contracts that you can't do anything with. Or you can make marginal moves while those people are in position, let them be unhappy about it, and allow yourself to be flexible in the future because of it, as to which you can maneuver all different types of ways that other teams will not be able to, because you did what you were supposed to do to put yourself in a position to be that flexible. It takes sacrifice. Okay, Laker fans, it requires sacrifice. And do you know why you're forced to be in a position to where it's most wise to make sacrifices? Because you did stuff like Portland's doing right now already. And you do have a demand on yourself to win championships. And you do have, at any given moment, the best player in the world on your team. But at some point in time, you got to sacrifice what you have in order to get yourself back into a position for which you have some advantage. Instead of trying to build your way out of a hole, or digging yourself further in a hole, pretending you're not in a hole, to adhere to people who don't understand that you're in a hole. It's what I've been trying to express to people for 3 summers. You don't need to be doing nothing, none of this stuff that people are talking about doing. It's irresponsible to do all that stuff based on our position, based on decisions that we made that put us in a financial hole. Not to mention that you have a whole Hall of Famer and LeBron James who wants to retire in your uniform that you're likely not going to get anything for. So you got to account for that deficit on top of the mistakes that you already made as a franchise that put you in a hole. So you can't move like maybe Memphis will be able to move, or Orlando be able to move, or whatever random team, because they're not in your position. And if you act like you in their position, you're going to be in a hole making the moves that they make. That ain't going to hurt them as much because they're not in a hole. Now, people not being able to identify that their team is in a hole will have them coming up with opinions that making marginal moves is a bad decision, or that they need to be doing more. And that is true. You do need to be able to do more, but you are not able to do more responsibly, and that needs to be accounted for. Now, you can be in the Lakers' position and hire a Joe Cronin. He'll bring you a bunch of names, spend 30 times more of what it's cost to get it, and you can sit up here and tell yourself you're able to win. When you put that crap on the basketball floor, you're not going to be able to, and when you demand they trade it to make it better, you ain't going to be able to. That's what ends up happening to you. But because people are only looking at what's on the surface, they end up judging somebody who's thinking 4 and 5 steps ahead as if he's not doing his job. This is the problem with Laker Nation. There's a huge disconnect between the position that we're actually in and the people who are around us making things happen from a position of strength. People don't understand that. They just think, oh, moves need to be made. You're not making moves. Oh, so we should need to fire you. No, if it's not in your best interest to make moves and someone's not moving, you should be applauding them for not doing anything to further dig you into a hole. Not the other way around. But nobody is expressing fully to Laker Nation how much of a hole they've been in for the last several years. Nobody's actually telling these people this. And a lot of them misevaluate talent because familiarity equals good in a lot of people's minds, which is a big fallacy in this league. And they end up wanting to require players that are past their prime because they've heard of them. You slap a bunch of old names together who are about to retire because you've been hearing their name for the last 7 years, and you find yourself with an old basketball team that's getting ran past you by people you've never heard of, that you're about to hear about because they're going to make a name for themselves kicking your ass. That's how that works. That's what I've been trying to express to people for years. People do not get it. And so as a result, they end up demanding their team be terrible. Indirectly. Demanding their team make decisions, their GMs make decisions that further dig them in a hole. But they always had them same demands. Make my team better. Bring me the biggest star. You don't have nothing nobody wants. And ain't nobody about to trade you horses for dog manure. But you want that though. You demand that though. And this is going to make it possible that you have them horses tomorrow if people sacrifice today and get themselves out of the hole that they dug themselves in, doing stuff they shouldn't have done. Doing things poorly around the margins. You think I'm unhappy at our GM situation? When I understand this, those two things don't go together. You can't be unhappy if you understand. If you know what it takes to get what you want, then you're happy with that. And if you don't know what it takes to get what you want and you're just making demands from a position of stupidity, then yeah, you're going to demand people do dumb stuff. They're going to find themselves in holes that you're going to blame them for. No. This is how you get out of those holes. It's the only way. And so I'm telling y'all, man, if we're going to get ourselves out of this hole, we need to let Rob Pelinka do what he's doing, which is very little to further dig us in a hole. And if it means you have to lose a year or two or whatever, then that's what's required to regain your flexibility. But if you go all in, bring yourself a bunch of names at the price tag that it's going to cost to get those names, when everybody knows you're in that desperate position, they're going to raise the price tag even more. You're going to pay that, and you're going to find yourself in a worse situation than you're in right now. As to which tomorrow, if you want to get yourself out of that situation, you have to kick some seasons down the road. And this is why I told LeBron James on my channel, if he would have listened to me, don't sign here. Because it's the situation we're in. This is where we're at. We have to kick some seasons down the road. And for those who are saying, well, Luka Doncic's timeline, you got to win for Luka too. If Luka understands what's going on with the Lakers, then he understands the best chance for him to have sustainable excellence is to allow us to kick this season and maybe next season down the road so we can get back to even. And the Lakers' best interest as an organization, if you have a superstar in place that doesn't understand that, the sacrifice has to come to that superstar so that you can get back to flexible status, so that you can get the superstar that you do get, whoever it may be, what they need. But if you kick that can down the road, trying to dig yourself further into a hole when you're already in one, the flexibility required to assure that the superstar that you have is able to win isn't in place, you're going to do stuff that's irresponsible and make yourself even less likely to be able to take care of the superstar tomorrow. This is the position the Lakers are in. It's the position the Portland Trailblazers just put themselves in. Only they ain't got no superstars coming because they're Portland. So they got to move differently. I don't think what they're doing is wise. But from a position of strength, the Lakers can afford to never even think like that, because they can always attract a superstar in Los Angeles market with the Laker brand. Which is why if I got to choose between flexibility or LeBron James, I'm going to choose flexibility. If I got to choose between flexibility or Luka Doncic, I'm going to choose flexibility. Why? Because all I got to do is maintain my flexibility. I get the next superstar. But if I do the wrong thing while that superstar is in place that I do have, trying to keep him happy, I end up like Milwaukee, doing that dumb stuff they doing. Dug themselves into a hole and didn't want to admit it, and then further dug themselves in a further hole, and now they're doing all types of whatever they can from around the margins, putting themselves in an even deeper hole, trying to keep the superstar, and it doesn't keep the superstar. You're never going to keep a superstar in a situation where you're mediocre, and you're never going to build yourself out of mediocrity if you continue to dig yourself further into a financial and flexible a cap hole, so to speak. It's never going to happen. You will sacrifice something. That's what it comes down to. If you're the Lakers or any other team in this league that dug themselves into a hole with the previous moves, you're going to have to sacrifice something. And if you kick your can down the road, pretend you're not in that hole, you're just going to dig yourself further and further and further and further into it, to a point where it doesn't make any sense for anyone to play for your team. And that's what Portland has been in for the last 15 years. And sure enough, they're still making decisions that are going to dig them right back in a hole, because apparently they didn't learn anything. Poor ownership and poor GMing will crush a franchise, bro. Sis, whoever's watching me, it will crush your franchise. People got to be able to properly identify the situation they're in and know what's most responsible to sacrifice so they can get out of it. It is that simple. This is the way the NBA is structured. Now, if they change the way things are structured so that you can do a little more without needing to do so much sacrificing, then cool, you can maneuver that way and make sense. And if people are interpreting or anticipating great changes, then maybe some of these decisions don't turn out to look as bad as they do. But as long as the NBA is currently constructed the way that it is, the type of stuff that Portland is doing potentially could be a death blow to their future for another 10, 15 years. That's what it looked like to me. You're going to find yourself in a situation where you ain't never going to be able to build nothing that's worth a damn, especially without a good market to attract people to. It's just like, yo, y'all playing Russian roulette. But the problem is, the way I see it, there's only one part of that revolver that don't have a bullet in it. You're playing Russian roulette with 5 bullets in the gun. Not one. That's the problem with what Portland's doing. The chances of this working out are bad, man. Very bad. And whatever you guys are selling your people, whatever you're selling your fans, if they have any understanding, they're gonna know you're full of crap. And that's the reality of it. So I don't know, man. I just think Portland's gonna be bad for a very long time because of the decisions they're making right now. The stuff that they have is not worth much to anybody on the market, man, outside of the young guys. Kamara, Scoot Henderson's value ain't where it needs to be. They keep throwing point guards in front of Scoot Henderson like that makes any damn sense. Now you're bringing Dame back. You got Scoot. You got Drew Holiday, all playing the same position. You got Kamara. You got Jeremy Grant's horrible contract. You got Clingan going forward, but you also brought in another center that you love so much. So what's going to happen with Clingan? What message are you sending to the young guy Clingan that you went and traded up for the same guy in his position? He was just drafted last year. I mean, it's stupid stuff, man. Stupid stuff. Stuff that don't even look like it's going to project to look any good is what Portland's doing right now, ladies and gentlemen. Stuff don't even, for those who are looking at it saying, man, what does this look like? This looks like trash they're putting together. Almost like they're doing it on purpose. Sabotage their franchise, if you ask me. And if I'm anybody who has any leverage on that team, I want the hell out of here. I'm telling you the truth. If I'm Tamari Kamara, I ain't re-signing with this team when I get a chance to. It ain't happening. If I'm Donovan Clingan and my representatives, I'm saying, man, is there a way we can get up out of here, man? Seriously. They want Hanson Young to use Hanson, man. Send me to the Lakers, bro. I don't want to be here. If I'm Donovan Clingan, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Get, man, Indy needs a center right now, right? Yeah, man. Can we try to finesse a way to get me to Indy, please? I'm serious, y'all. Because the stuff that Portland's doing is going to ensure they suck for a long time. A long time. And it's so preventable. All of it is so extremely preventable. So that's pretty much what I'm saying to y'all, man. I hate seeing GMs do horribly irresponsible things, bringing themselves names at inflated prices, irresponsibly at that, only for it to crash and burn, and then they end up getting fired just for another GM who has to do what essentially has already been described in this video, is a little to nothing for a long time to get themselves out of the hole that the previous GM brought them to, only for owners to find themselves unhappy with the next GM because they're not moving enough. Type stuff, man, I'm telling you. And so, I don't know, is there ways Portland can get their way out of this? Sure. First thing Portland needs to do is continue to utilize their development team to bring them the best talent they can get in the second round and in the undrafted market. Then those players need to develop into real role players, talented role players that can supersede all of this dumb stuff that they're bringing to them on contracts. Bunch of stuff that ain't gonna do nothing at all. Drew Holiday in his older age, showing that he's starting to decline on an inflated contract. Dame Lillard with a no trade clause at 36 years old, coming off an Achilles tear. Jeremy Grant approaching 30 on a bad contract. Just like, I'm telling y'all, man, fewer situations look immediately poorer than Portland's right now. Very few situations look worse than Portland's does to me right now. They have dug themselves a fresh, new hole, man. That's what it really comes down to. You let Cronin and his cronies dig the Portland Trailblazers a very prestigious and respectable brand in the NBA into a space where they're projected to look bad for at least another 7 years, at least, with the moves that he just made over the last 3 months. And so that's what I want people to understand, man. And when it play out the way it plays out, you won't be surprised because I explained it to you. You just can't do it, man. You can't bring yourself old talent on inflated contracts and expect your team to be any good. It's not real. That doesn't work. Player evaluation and proper allocation of assets is the end-all be-all to franchise basketball in the NBA. And anybody that doesn't respect that or doesn't understand that, who's making decisions against that, is going to find themselves in a situation where the team's going to suck, bro. It ain't deeper than that. Your team's going to suck. Video 44, I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.